Crown Trick is a roguelike with a interesting turn-based system. Time only flows when you move. Every step you take, action you make, or spell you cast counts as a turn, after which the enemies and traps in the same room as you take their turn. This system allows you to exert an impressive amount of control over the flow of the game. It's as fast or as slow as you want it to be. You play as Elle, trapped in the realm of nightmares. She's partnered with an abrasive and mysterious talking crown. You must traverse a variety of randomly generated dungeons, and each room in that dungeon is its own challenge. You combat these challenges using a variety of weapons, items, and abilities, most of which interact with each other in interesting ways. The environment itself can be your friend or foe. Various traps can affect both Elle and the enemies, while a variety of elements can be harnessed and combined for various synergies. Dungeons house challenging bosses, but fear not, failure is an opportunity. When you lose, you go back to a home base and you can spend soul shards on upgrades to take in your next run, alongside your newfound game knowledge. Crown Trick managed to keep me on my toes. Each time I thought I had figured everything out, it peeled back another layer with a new system, mechanic, or quirk. It's a multi-tiered game of deceptive depth, but don't let that intimidate you. It handles its complexity with such grace that it never once became a hindrance, assuming you like smart games in the first place. Crown Trick introduces new mechanics at a perfect pace that allows you to learn each one, and the tutorial itself is short, sweet, and informative. More importantly, is the accessible way the game handles information. Everything you need to know about any aspect of the game is available to you with a hovering tooltip. Your weapons, abilities, items, enemies, status effects, and even the environment can be viewed simply by mousing over it. This allows you to make decisions with near perfect information. The complexity in the game is easily digestible. That's a huge boon to the game's tactical gameplay. And when you fail, it never really feels unfair. Since you control the pace and have a ton of info at your fingertips, you can take all the time you need to plan your moves. While Crown Trick is technically turn-based, it never feels slow, even if you take your time. The enemies make their moves within a second, and it's back to you again. The gameplay is fluid and incredibly engaging. Your mind is never left to wander, as the ball is nearly always in your court. That's because the vast array of enemies aren't thinking the same way you might see in a game like XCOM. They have preset behaviors and patterns of attack. While that sounds dull, I assure you it isn't. They may not be programmed to react to your individual actions, but that doesn't make them any less challenging. The random enemy setup, environmental hazards, and even your own loadout makes every fight feel fresh. There's never a time you can simply shut your brain off, or the game will punish you for it. Instead, this allows you to learn each enemy and plan accordingly, both in the decisions you make for each run and the moment-to-moment battles. The world is layered on an invisible grid, with each space being a square. You can move freely, as quickly or slowly as you would like, but each time you do, nearby enemies and traps take a turn in between. You can make basic attacks with a variety of weapons, and each type of weapon has its own attack pattern. A sword will swing at the adjacent 3 spaces in front of you. An axe will hit every enemy around you, while a rifle or pistol can fire several spaces straight ahead, but they need to be reloaded. There is a great variety of weapon types, but it goes deeper than just that. Each weapon is a specific named weapon of that type. There might be a staff that can deal fire damage, or a pistol that has a chance to paralyze an enemy. Even beyond that, each one has a rarity dictating its attack power, skill power, and neat passive bonuses. You will also encounter mini-bosses called familiars. Defeating them allows you to add their power to your arsenal. You usually get to pick from 3 of them whenever you find a familiar crystal, and you can carry 2 familiars at once. They grant you spell-like abilities that require magic points to use, and each familiar has 2 spells. Both your familiar skills and enemy abilities can trigger elemental effects, and they can synergize and combine. By itself, a water tile will drench a character, and it makes them take more physical damage from attacks. But what if you applied some electricity? The familiars each have a distinct theme with the spells they grant. One allows you to place exploding barrels and breathe fire. Another might allow you to turn invisible, and a different one may grant you the power of earthquakes. Each one feels different. There are 20 unlockable familiars. I'm sure you can already see the variety of combinations available that you can combine with your weapon type. But to top it off, you also pick up relics that grant passive abilities and one-use items you can trigger. Each one of these factors combines to build your loadout each run. The environment is often woven with traps, hazards, and elements that can affect both you and the enemies. You can utilize them if you're crafty, or you'll fall prey to them if you're careless. The environmental and elemental interaction is incredibly fun. It's like a faster paced but no less skillful Divinity game, and if you've played those games, you know that's a good thing. You only control one character in Crown Trick, however, so while you have a bunch of tactical options, it never feels overwhelming. Each room of the dungeon is a self-contained challenge. You have a limited number of blinks. Blinks allow you to teleport a short distance without consuming your turn. Your blinks and your magic points regain in each new room, but your health does not. You approach every battle with a full tactical arsenal because all of your abilities refresh, but the dungeon can still wear you down through attrition, and regaining HP is very rare. You have an elixir that gets refilled after a boss fight, but anything beyond that is luck. Taking damage is obviously bad, so you need to plan your moves to minimize it. The break system can help you accomplish this. Each enemy, including bosses, has a breaking threshold. Each attack lowers it by 1, and when it reaches 0, they break and become stunned for a few turns before resetting it. If you can break another enemy within 7 moves of the first one, you start a combo. That increases the damage you deal and grants you extra blinks. Since your blinks don't consume your turn, they are extremely important to a good battle plan. If a foe is adjacent to you, you break an additional point when you attack them. If they're charging up an ability, you will break an additional point when you attack them. So if they're both adjacent to you and charging an ability, you can break 3 with 1 attack. This means if you're savvy, you can outright interrupt devastating attacks, and this is true even with boss fights. Mini boss fights are interesting, but the dungeon bosses are intelligently designed challenges on a whole other level. Not only is breaking them key, but when you lower their health to certain thresholds, you gain additional blinks and magic points, meaning you can sustain yourself in a fight much longer than normal. I really cannot overstate how great the bosses are. The multiple nature of your loadout makes them feel different every time, yet they all have specific features. One, for example, takes place on a chessboard full of chess pieces. The first time I fought this boss, I got completely annihilated. But then I realized the pieces themselves followed the same exact movement rules as real chess, and the boss could only command one at a time. Every boss has its own quirks like that, and they are a joy to pit your mind against. Failure, progression, and randomness are common tropes in the roguelike genres. Crown Trick doesn't shy away from any of that, but one factor makes it different from most others, at least for me. That factor is the player's agency. While random elements are present, from the dungeon layouts, the enemy distribution, and the loot, you are nearly always presented with a choice to swing that randomness in your favor. While single items do drop, most of the time you are granted a selection. You aren't simply saddled with whatever the game gives you with no choice in the matter. You get to choose between a selection of weapons, relics, and familiars, and that's in addition to shops where you can spend your gold to further augment your playstyle. This is all important as you struggle to react to each dungeon with your loadout. Every dungeon has a theme, with its own enemies and bosses, and they each have their own elemental weaknesses and attacks. While you don't choose your exact loadouts, being given multiple choices in most instances elevates Crown Trick above other rogue-type games. You don't just make do with what the random number god dotes on you, you make real, meaningful choices that impact how you play the game. I mean that very seriously. The boss fights, for example, are incredibly well designed and could stand on their own. Multiple dungeon bosses exist for each dungeon, but they themselves and their arenas are not actually random. Yet they feel very different each time and are rarely repetitive, not because they changed, but because you did. Approaching any given boss with an axe and a relic that heals you with each attack, along with some trap abilities, feels very different than when you have a rifle, spells that let you keep your distance, and relics that boost your magic points. That doesn't mean you always have what you need, because you don't. Maybe a boss is weak to fire, but you never had a choice of fire weapons or abilities. Yet it is still up to you how to react to that fact, and forge your playstyle and strategy accordingly. It feels way better than just coping with a run of bad luck, while still maintaining all the unpredictable fun that randomness brings to the table. Some rooms don't feature enemies at all. They could have puzzles, random events, loot for curse trade-offs, or push your luck slot machines. But the choice is always yours on whether or not to take that risk for the reward. You will inevitably fail in Crown Trick. As you progress, you rescue a variety of characters that all have some backstory to uncover in addition to lore pieces you can find. The story of Crown Trick is not the selling point for me, but it's a lot more interesting than I would have expected, and I was always eager to learn more about the world, the crown, and the folks you rescue. Gold can be spent on relics and items during a run, but soul shards are used back at your home base after each failure. Each person that you rescue unlocks a new line of upgrades, most of which are significant. These range from giving you an additional healing elixir to unlocking new effects that can appear on weapons. As with the rest of Crown Trick, it's up to you to prioritize your path of progression. But aside from soul shards, you will also encounter blueprints, and if you manage to survive long enough to bring them to a post-boss shop, these blueprints unlock new weapons, relics, and items that can appear in future runs. While you always choose from a set of familiars, each one you defeat is unlocked forever and can appear for you to choose from in future runs. The progression system is graceful. It doesn't gate fun stuff behind a grind given currency, but the upgrades are significant enough that you care about them. The familiars themselves are significant, but they appear randomly for you to defeat. Each time you encounter one is exciting and scary, as you will want to beat them to add them to your repertoire of spells. Crown Trick is something of a rarity. I'm a critic, and I can find flaws in even my most beloved titles. That didn't really happen with Crown Trick. I didn't even encounter any bugs that I could sit here and waggle my finger at. I found one line of text that said string not found, but it affected literally nothing. The fact of the matter is, the game is brilliant. Every mechanic is finely tuned and has a place in the game. Nothing feels unnecessary, and nothing feels missing. Its systems spectacularly intertwine with each other, making it one of the greatest tactical turn-based titles I've ever played. A crowning achievement indeed. It's a cerebral game that demands that you think, but it never feels slow or grating. I'm glued to my seat every time I play. I'm eager for the challenge that awaits me in every room. And each mechanic feels like it's meticulously designed to work the way it does. One wrong tweak could have broken and balanced the whole system. Yet every single piece of the game fits in a perfectly shaped slot in tune with the rest of it. The blink system, giving you more leverage to move around without consuming a turn. The break system, allowing you to stun enemies and refill your blinks. The elemental and environmental interaction, and even the bosses regaining your MP as you damage them. Each aspect is tightly knit to form an intelligent, fun, and engaging combat system. To top it all off, the animation and sound design are both charming. They utilize an artistic style that I find both attractive and unique. The enemies are visually distinct, allowing you to predict their actions on sight over time. Crown Trick is replayable, fun, tactical, and full of meaningful variety. If you like rogue-type games at all, it's a must-have, and it sets a bar for the genre. If it doesn't end up as a Game of the Year contender, it damn well should be. To recap, The pros. It has charming visuals. It has a unique turn-based system that allows you to control the pace without ever feeling bogged down. Its combat is incredibly cerebral. It features tons of player agency mixed with roguelike randomness. It has a great variety of weapons, relics, items, and abilities. Its boss fights are outstanding. It has finely tuned mechanics that work together. It's deep, but easy to learn thanks to the simple controls and informative interface. It also has interesting lore. Cons. I found a line of text that said string not found. That's it, now go buy the game. I give it a 10 out of 10. A copy of Crown Trick was provided for Gideon's Gaming by Team 17 for the purpose of review. If you enjoyed this review, consider checking out some more of my content in the links to my website below. I am primarily a writer, and most of my stuff is written, but I do occasionally make videos for the people that like them. If you really want to help me out, you could always check out my Ko-fi page, also found in the description down below. I do not run ads on my website, and I don't really plan on monetizing my YouTube videos, so every little donation helps a lot. Until next time.